maybe I'm losing my mind here, but is it really worth spending 50% more or 100% more to be stuck in the same traffic and go around corners at the same speeds and go to the same speeds down the straightaway? If I'm wrong, tell me. I'd love to see some comments. I'd love to be proven wrong on this, but I'm not sure that it is. Say it with me, for we walk by faith, not by sight. Guys, I need some help. I need some help here. This is a really dumb question to most people, but is a C5 Corvette really that much better than a new Edge Mustang? Oh, geez. This is going to be... There's some caveats here, right? Okay? Brand new, sure. I'm going to sit here and I knocked something. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, yeah, sure, the Corvette's better. Better lap times, all this stuff. It has 100 more horsepower, roughly. 90 horsepower more. 345 compared to like 260. However, I am going to say that the 99 to 04 GT was slightly overrated. And the 01 Bullitt, which I have 2 Bullets, so I'm a little partial to the Bullets, but they were rated more accurately at 265. But what you really see is a 10 to 12, maybe 15 at the most horsepower difference. So the 99 04 Mustang was really maybe closer to 250 horse. And so, my whole thing is cheap cars, right? So I'm looking at cheap cars, and you can get C5 Vettes for down under 10 now. And that's kind of where I'm at here. For less than 10 is the C5 Corvette you can get for less than 10. Better than my blue Bullitt that I got for less than 10, and then have just a little bit more than 10 in now, right? I struggle with this. I struggle with it because I drove a Corvette that they're asking 12 for, but I know what they'd take. It's under 10, okay? I drove this C5 Vette, and it's not the best example of a C5. Good running car, good paint, good running car, nice interior, all the things, but it was a little tired. Right, the steering maybe wasn't as tight as it should be. There was some sway in the rear end from I don't know what links or what back there was wore out, but something was wore out in the rear. And when you accelerate, the rear would want to shimmy a little bit, not from spinning, not like sliding, but actually some shimmy in the rear of the car. And so that's the only C5 I've driven. But one thing. I didn't have this crazy experience that absolutely blew my mind, and it was way better than my Bullitt. Not all of these Mustangs, right? Not all these Mustangs. I'm gonna show you guys here. This is a dream car, 04 Le Mans Commemorative Edition Z06. That's a dream car. One thing I kind of don't like about it, I think it hits 171 as the top speed, but in 6th. I want a car that I can mod in time to make do 200 plus, and I'd have to change gearing for that for the Z06, I think, unless that does it in 5th. I need to look into that. I don't know. Anyway, that's a different thing. So I drove this white C5. It was a base, but had a cam, made good power, loud exhaust, had a freshly rebuilt auto trans, and yeah, sure, it was an auto, right? Yeah, I get that, but. And maybe my Bullitt is a freak. Maybe it's a factory freak or something. It's just tighter than it should be. I don't know. But the only rattle or squeak or anything that my blue Bullitt has is that center stack in the dash where it has the HVAC controls and the radio controls and stuff. Sometimes it rattles and sometimes it doesn't, right? And that's the only rattle that car has. And I could fix that with a little rubber strip behind it just to put a little pressure on it as it clipped in, but a little bit, holding it against the dash so it doesn't have room to move. And I'm going to fix that soon. But the C5 I drove, there's a corner that I took it around that, there's a mid-corner bump that really upsets the rear of a car. And obviously the infinite rear suspension handled that well, but the car flexed. I could feel the car flex. Because you go into this corner and it turns in and it kind of drops on the inside and then turns in and it really, tweaks a car. It's never been so bad that it's made my live axle cars go sideways or anything like that, but it's a weird corner. It almost feels like maybe a root has pushed the road up slightly as the corner was starting to kind of dip in and get a little bit of camber to it. So I don't know, it's a little bit of angle, whatever, but it's just weird. But it's a good corner because it really does a weird thing to a chassis. But the Corvette, like that corner and a bunch of other corners, I could feel the car flexing a bit. I could hear the plastics moving and rattling. And again, maybe it was this one Corvette I drove, and it was 99,000 mile car, okay? But at 99,000 miles, it had way more squeaks and rattles and plastic moving and stuff. But also, the car was modded a bit. Like it had, the seats have been redone at some point, and who knows what else had been done to it. Maybe at some point, they took out interior parts and painted them, and I don't know. Maybe these cars maybe I just drove a really less than stellar example. I don't want to disparage the owner of that, because I go to church with him. But, I don't want to disparage the owner of that car or anything like that, but I wasn't impressed. One of the hang-ups of the new Edge Mustangs is like the chassis is really flexible. Well, mine has subframe connectors. They're bolt-in, and I do want to do weld-in subframe connectors, but it has bolt-in subframe connectors from the factory, and they're better than nothing. And then, people say the Mustang's steering is overboosted, a lot of the magazines and such, the reviews of the day. Okay, well, mine has the smaller pulleys that a Bullitt has, and that makes the steering not as boosted. And then I have a smaller steering wheel than factory, which is a smaller lever arm that you're working with, so again, not as boosted, essentially. And so my steering is a lot firmer and tighter feeling. Now, I mean, I could upgrade it even more than that. I could go to Delrin or solid steering rack bushings, and then I could get rid of the rag joint and go to a collapsible but solid steering shaft that is, doesn't have the rubber in it anymore, and I could get more feel there. And the Corvette's steering was even firmer. It took more pressure to turn, but it wasn't any more communicative to me as in terms of feedback for what the wheels are doing than my Mustang. So that was surprising. That was a really surprising thing. I have Corbeau seats in my Mustang, and the Corvette had its factory seats. I was very not impressed with the Corvette's factory seats. They look like they hold you in place in corners. They don't. So, okay, whatever. I can set that aside. And another thing I want to add, I'm not like this brand loyal guy. If you see my channel, I have 4 Mustangs. I'm not like a Mustang guy, though. I've had F-bodies. I have a Chevy truck, and my wife has an Escalade. I've had all kinds of stuff. I've had Jeeps and Firebirds, and I've had old Mustangs and Trailblazer SS, which was really fun. Not much Euro stuff. That's a whole, I've made other videos about that too, but that's a whole thing of the Euro cars don't really do anything for me. They're insanely expensive to keep maintained. They take a lot of maintenance and work, and the parts are more expensive, and they break more often, and then they don't have much torque. So I don't know. The Euro car thing just doesn't do anything for me. Like there's some BMWs and a few Mercedes that, from the late 80s and the 90s and stuff, and I'm like, dang, that's a good looking car. But I don't know. They weren't around when I was growing up. I live in a poorer part of the country, and so you might see, I saw more Mark IV Supras and NSX and NSXs and, RX-7s and stuff than I saw BMWs and Mercedes when I was a kid. For whatever reason, the business owners, I guess, got Japanese stuff. I guess they didn't want stuff that would break. And we actually, my dad's boss's wife, or so I guess my dad's boss, whatever. But they had a red NSX. And we asked, like, hey, you're looking at sports cars and stuff, why this instead of, other options in that price range? And she was like, well, I want something that lasts. Okay, that makes sense. And I remember asking her that, geez, when I was like 10 years old or something. But, just wanted something that would hold up. And we all knew, BMWs and Mercedes and all that stuff. One, they don't hold up. And two, there's not dealers around here at all. At all. The closest, thing to a European dealer we have around here is a Volkswagen. Which, obviously, that's, the same company now as Audi and Porsche and all the stuff. But, whatever. But yeah, let's get back to Corvettes here and these Mustangs. Now, maybe my Mustang, and I'm not talking about all New Edge Mustangs, because I've had 6 of them. I still have 4. And they're not all equal by any stretch of the imagination. I have 2 Bullets right now, the green one and the blue one. They are drastically different cars. They feel different when you're driving them. Even when I had the factory seats in my blue one and the factory steering wheel and everything, they are drastically different cars. In the green one, my wife sits in the passenger seat, and it's normal. It's fine. Everything. She sits in the passenger seat on my blue one, and the door is, or the seat's rubbing the door, and we're like, what's going on? Why is that like that? So the cars are built within tolerances, right? The panels are within a certain distance and this and that, and get welded. For whatever reason, my blue Bullitt is like, it's tighter than all of the other New Edge Mustangs I had. So, I do know that it is a good one. It less squeaks and rattles. The chassis just has less flex to it, even than my other cars with the same bolt-in subframe connectors. It just feels tighter. It feels better. It's hard to explain. It really is. And so when I drove that C5 Vet, that was 100,000 miles, and the rear end moved around a little bit, and the seats were pretty wore out and stuff, even though they had been redone. It was tan, but they had done red center sections, like the 50s type of thing. I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't super impressed, and I hated that because I wanted to be impressed. I've been wanting to drive a C5 Corvette since they came out in '97. I was 12, right, when they came out. I have wanted to drive those. Oh, I thought my dog was bumping me. She is not. And they just looked amazing, and you're supposed to be, all the magazines raved on them. They're supposed to be great. It's supposed to be this awesome car and stuff. And I'm driving this auto with a cam, so it's faster than stock. And it was quick, maybe a little bit quicker than my Bullitt, because my Bullitt's got 14 gears. It should be a lot quicker, and it should be quicker than my Mach 1, my auto Mach 1, but it didn't really feel any quicker, right? And maybe the chassis was just so great, it was so planted, and it was accelerating harder than whatever. It really wasn't. I've taken my other cars out on that same road and run about that same speed and about that same distance. It wasn't really that much different. Now I know the auto cars, the gearing is not great. The 4L60 with the gears. Also that white car I drove, though, it had 342 gears in it. I think 342s, which was a manual transmission gear for the C5s. And so for a C5 Vet, that's a lower gear, because it had like 315 or 273 or something. I don't remember exactly, but it had a 342 gear in it as well. And like, it would hit second and spin the tires in second and stuff, but it just didn't. I don't know. And then we get to corners, right? The steering, like I said, is firmer, but I'm sitting really low in the car. And I'm like 5'10", 5'9", 5'10", somewhere, I don't know, somewhere around there. With shoes on, I'm like 5'11", okay, whatever. And I don't care about the 6 foot thing. Like, I'm fine with how tall I am. I do not care, whatever. But I do know that I'm like long torso and short legs. And so in the Mustangs, I fit really well for whatever reason. Like, how I sit, because my legs are being a little shorter, I can reach the shifter just fine. It's not a problem or anything. I don't know. I fit them well. The Corvette was fine, and I didn't have any issues there. And guys, I don't know. I want you guys to tell me. Any viewers out there that have Corvettes or anything like that, was the Corvette I drove a wore out and poor example? Are they really, when they're in good shape, are they really so much better than other cars that it should be super noticeable over a lightly modded and cornering oriented New Edge Mustang? I mean, I have a feeling most of you are going to go, yeah, of course, it's way better. The thing is, though, and the problem I run into is I don't go crazy fast, right? Like, I've done, the speed limit's 40. I might find some 70 in there, but I'm not going to be doing 100 plus down these back roads. I'm not going to be going through the corners at over 1G. Typically, and I've run a G meter in some of my stuff before, typically how fast I'm comfortable going through corners is between 0.7 and 0.85 G. And I can easily do that in my Mustang. It corners very flat, stiff suspension, and decent tires. They're 320 tread wear, but they're okay-ish tires. They're not great. But 0.7 to 0.8, maybe up 0.85. I'm not, when I get close to a G in a corner, I am, at least in my cars, I am pushing it to a point, or no, let's not say that, because obviously a better chassis can go around a corner faster and all the stuff, right? The speed that I'm carrying is a speed that I don't feel super safe with. If something were to go wrong, And not just with the car, not like, oh, the rear end stepped out on me. Not like that, no. The speed I'm going to have to go a G through a lot of these corners, or pull a lateral G, is a speed that I might not see something coming up quick enough. Or someone else could be coming a blind corner and they're in my lane, right? I don't feel safe at the speeds that it takes to do that, okay? A road course is a different story. Autocross is a different story. A road that there's no traffic on, like very, very out road that doesn't have many driveways or different things or a lot of trucks, traffic and stuff. Yeah, that's a different story. You push it a little harder, you go a little faster, right? But at the speeds that I'm comfortable going on the roads around here that I'm driving on, the C5 that I drove wasn't any more impressive than my lightly modded Mustang. Does that make sense? I don't know, man. Maybe I'm losing my mind. I really want a C5. I really want a C5 Z06. If I haven't showed it in this video, there's like my dream car. 04 Le Mans Commemorative Edition Z06. I want one of those so bad. But am I going to get more out of it than I'm getting out of my current car? I don't know. Oh, it's driving me crazy. I drove this stinking C5. And again, it might have been a poor example of a C5. But on the roads that I drive and at the speeds that I'm comfortable going on those roads, I would rather drive my Mustang. And I feel like that's a crazy thing, and I feel like most everyone would disagree with me. I'm losing my mind here. But my Mustang, my particular car, even though it's not that modded, it's got springs and lower rear control arms from Maximum Motorsports. It's got H&R Super Sport springs, which are a little too low, honestly. The car gets a little higher and the springs can be a little stiffer. And it's got Coney orange shocks, which aren't even the best Coney shocks. And it's got Corbo seats and a Momo steering wheel. And that's about it. It's a Bullitt, so Bullets have better sway bars than GTs. You would look at the specs and say it's not as good, but it works for that car. And so I don't know, like all the specs say it should be not as good, and everyone else says it should be not as good. And I'm sitting here going, are people just saying this because the Corvette costs more and it's a Corvette, or the BMW E46 is a BMW, so it has to be better because it costs more? Am I losing my mind here? Or was the Corvette I drove just wore out? I'm going to have to figure out a way to buy one of these cars because, I know some people with some cars and stuff, and I could probably ask and drive them, but I want to get comfortable with one. I want to get used to it and good with it, right? Not just a short drive, because like the drive I went on, I was going through the corners about the speed I normally go and stuff, and the guy in the passenger seat, he was like, yeah, it's whatever, we're fine, I'm not scared or anything, you're doing, you're driving as not driving crazy, but I don't know. And part of me wants like the independent rear suspension on the Mustang, but then that's like $4,000 or $5,000 anymore. It's ridiculous to get it shipped here and then get the exhaust port and stuff. It's just, at that point, if I put that much more into that car, I would have the same amount of money into it as a 100,000 mile C5 Z06 cost. So I don't know what to do. You guys tell me, what should I do? Should I get a Corvette? Because I'm probably not going to track it, okay? I might do some autocross stuff. I might be interested in doing some like really low-level hill climb type events. But that stuff doesn't exist around here. Maybe I need to put on a hill climb event. Jeez. That Arkansas Dragon going southbound would be a really good hill climb event. Yeah, I don't know, man. You guys tell me. Are people just loving the cars that they bought because it's the car that they bought? Or are most new edges garbage and I just have a ringer? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to have to bite the bullet and get it, because I'm not working right now. I'm just trying this YouTube thing. It's not growing as quick as I want it. I'd like it to grow quicker, and even if I did get up into monetization, I still wouldn't be making enough to pay my bills. So I'm gonna have to find a job again. and do some work. But in doing that, hopefully I can find something that makes enough to go ahead and snag a nice C5. So that's kind of the other thing too. Although I want a Z06, a big draw of the Corvette is being able to take the top off. I like the C5s. I like how kind of long and sweepy they are. C6 is supposed to be a better car. Honestly, I don't like that era of GM that the C6 was made in. Those goofy steering wheels with the silver paint on them that gets scratched up, and just the recession era GM stuff. I'm not a fan of that. I like the late 90s, early 2000s era of everything. So I think C5's for me. So I just got to figure out what to do there. If I got a base C5, I would modify it. I would do as close as I could to like Z06 stuff. I know that you can't get the Z06 springs anymore. I probably wouldn't do coilovers. I mean, maybe coilovers is the way to go in time, but I want to maximize. I like maximizing what they're kind of stock. I don't know. I haven't seen a huge benefit to coilovers. That's a whole different video. We'll get to there later. But yeah, so I mean, like I'm thinking like a C5. If I got a coupe that I could take the top out of, I know there's a plate you can get that bolts to the underside of the torque tube hump, and it's a lot sturdier and stiffens the chassis some, so that's supposed to help. And then I'm kind of sold on the Johnny O'Connell shocks and sway bar package. I would like to try that. Everything I've read about it describes what I like in terms of a handling car, so that would be interesting to me. But then it's like, okay, I think you can still get like the rear, either the front or rear spring, because it was like the same. I think it's the rear one on a C5 Z06 was used on the C6 Z51, so I should be able to find that, and then you have to find a front spring. So I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss, guys. You tell me, what should I do? Should I get a C5? Is it really that much better at a back road? Like on a road course, absolutely, sure. It's going to run off and leave my new Edge. Yeah, 100%. Not even in the same league. But on a back road, if I'm only willing to go up to certain speeds, I'm only willing to go around corners at certain speeds because there's a safety threshold of I can only see so far around the corner, and there might be driveways or other cars or some old guy in his farm truck driving down the middle of the road. If I'm only willing to go around the corner so fast, is it worth it? That's where I'm at. Is it worth it? I don't know. I want it to be worth it because I really want one of those cars. You guys tell me. Am I just losing my mind? I'm sick. That's why I'm sitting here in my office, probably not making any sense. I've got like a sinus infection or a head cold or something. I don't know. I was outside working on the car and I was filming a video, and all of a sudden my throat started itching and hurting, and I started getting a runny nose. And I'm like, what's going on here? Is something bothering my allergies? Like, what is this? Next day I'm like, I don't feel good. And here I am. So I haven't made a video out in the garage. I'm upset about that. But like, I got to put something out today. And then I'm sitting here, I'm just mulling this over and going crazy in my head. Like, is it really that much better at what I do? I don't really, maybe I would like to get into autocross or something at some point. Maybe that would be better for that. I don't know. I think amateur hill climbs, I would be much more interested in doing that type of event versus an autocross or versus road course stuff. Now, I would like to try some road course stuff. I've lots of sim racing time on different road courses around the world, and I enjoy doing that. But I guess there's just nothing local. Like Hallett is the closest one to me, and it's like 3 hours away. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm at a crossroads where I can sell my car, but I really like my blue Bullitt. I like to have it. It's a cool car. It's a nice car. I think it looks great. I don't know what to do. Anyway, that'll be this video. I'm still thinking about getting a C5. I'll get one at some point, and then I'll fix it up to a good level and take it out and really review it. But review it not from the not from the viewpoint of I already think it's the best car ever. I'm going to review it from the point of, for the money I spent and what I do with this car, is it actually worth purchasing? Now, when I get one, I'm going to end up keeping it anyways because I like polishing and tinkering with stuff. So, I don't know. Anyway, that's where I'm at, guys. I'm sick. I'm trying to make something in my office, put a video out today. I'm going to go lay down now. See you guys.